Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, it's time to go over what I watched in the month of July. And as you'll notice on the thumbnail here of this video, that it's going to be a little bit different this time. There is a spoiler warning for Deadpool and Wolverine that is coming up later. So just give you a heads up what that looks like. You'll see down here with these movies that I have, two of them are blacked out, the very first one and then the fifth one of the month. So we're just going to skip over those two movies for now. I'm going to go through all of this, rate them, rank them, and then at the very end we'll just throw those last two on very quickly and go over them super quick. So if you don't want any spoilers at all for Deadpool and Wolverine, just you're good up until the end. So let's get started here ranking them. So the first one, we're gonna skip. So the next one is Bernie. We're gonna put this at a 3. It was one of those that I enjoyed Jack Black. I think he was really good in the role. I mean, all the acting they were, but it wasn't the most captivating story for me. And then we've got X-Men: The Last Stand. I'm gonna go with a 2 on this one. I just not the biggest X-Men fan, and this is the first. I mean, the first two are good, but this is kind of the first one that gets into that. I don't know what the word I'm looking for. The pattern of some of these X-Men movies not being great. And then on the 4th of July, I watched Last Flag Flying. It felt like I was going to watch it anyway, and it just kind of felt like an appropriate flags in the title. I was like, oh, this might be a fun 4th of July watch. It's not a very patriotic watch, but I mean it was good. I'm just going to put it at a 3. And then we're skipping the 5th movie, and then we're going straight into X-Men Origins Wolverine. I will say that I think I enjoyed this more. This is the second time I've seen this film. I think I enjoyed it a little bit more than I did the first time. And I think part of it is just because I love the character of Wolverine more now than I did, when I saw this for the first time. But I'm still going to leave it at about a 2.5. It's again, a lot of these X-Men movies aren't necessarily great. And then we have X from Ty West. We're going to put this up at a 3.5, followed immediately by Pearl, also at a 3.5 for me. And then capping off the trilogy is Maxine, and this is the one that I do think takes a little bit of a step back. I'm going to put it at a 3. With that said, I know a lot of people really hated Maxine. I still enjoyed it. I thought it was fine, and I don't know, a lot of people thought that it went in such a crazy different direction than what they were expecting, and I guess in a sense I can kind of see that, but for the most part, I thought it just fit in with the rest of the trilogy. Just it was a little bit of a step back. And then we have X-Men First Class. I think I'd have to really kind of sit down and really think about it, but I feel like that's my favorite of just, I guess, the base X-Men movies, like the ones that are X-Men in the title. I think it's my favorite of that group. I'm going to put that up at a 4. And then we have a Scanner Darkly. This one, I can see how this is a film that I could see this being a film that a lot of people are really into. For me, I thought it was okay. I didn't fully, I'll say I loved the performances. Obviously, it kind of being the has rotoscope, is that the word I'm looking for? But I mean, just kind of the animation style with, you can obviously tell it's Keanu. You can obviously tell that it's Robert Downey Jr. You can obviously tell, it's, each of the different characters that are there. You can tell, who it is. But it's Woody Harrelson is the I was trying to blank on Woody Harrelson's name. Woody Harrelson is who I was thinking of. You can tell who each of the characters are, and they are giving good performances. It just ultimately it's another one where the story, I can see this being a story that a lot of people can really get into. I just didn't. And then we have The Lobster. Before I saw Kinds of Kindness, wanted to go back and see Yorgos Lanthimos' film that I hadn't seen yet, and I really enjoyed The Lobster. I'm going up at a 4 there. And then there's Kinds of Kindness. This is one that I think maybe it's worth a second watch before I definitively lock this in as just an average 3-star movie for me. But just based on the first watch, I wasn't superly impressed. There was things like the acting and kind of the crafts of the film that I thought were good, but ultimately I wasn't really invested in any of the, it's told in 3 parts. I just wasn't really invested in any of the parts, and so we're just gonna go 3-star for now. And then we have The Wolverine. Again, this is another one that I think I enjoyed a whole lot more on the second watch, but I'm still gonna put it just at a 3. I think it's a little bit better than X-Men Origins Wolverine. But yeah, we're just going to leave it there at 3. Then we have The Silence of the Lambs. I'm going to put this at a 4.5, and I'll put a link in the description for this video of my review of Becoming a Better Cinephile episode of Silence of the Lambs. It was great movie. I'm not going to say too much because obviously I've uploaded a 30 plus minute video that you can go watch. Want to hear more of my thoughts there? Then we have Longlegs, the film that it was kind of being compared, or the Longlegs was being compared to Silence of the Lambs a lot. I'm going to put Longlegs there at a 4 star. And then we have X-Men Days of Future Past. This one is probably going to be like a 3.5. I almost like it as much as First Class, and maybe depending on this is the one I think maybe depending on the day I might kind of flip back and forth between the two. But I really dug Days of Future Past. And then we have X-Men Apocalypse. This is when it kind of really starts bottoming out for the X-Men, both Apocalypse and then Dark Phoenix back to back. Gonna put those both at 2s. Then we have Slacker. I'm going to put Slacker up at a 3.5. This is one where, I can see this being a film that a lot of people really, really, really hate. Again, I could also see some people really, really loving it. I didn't entirely love the story as much, but there is kind of the way that the story is told. It is a creative and interesting enough of a experiment that I have to give it respect, that I did find myself kind of captivated by that, which we're going to go 3.5 there. Logan, this is the second time I've seen Logan. First time I had it at a 4.5. We're bumping it up to a 5 star on this watch. I thoroughly enjoyed Logan. Then we have the OG Twister. We're going to put this at a 3, and then Twisters, the new film, I'm going to put it at a 3.5. My parents used to watch Twister all the time. I remember when I was a kid, and so I remember seeing some scenes and thinking that this was like an amazing, this is one of those like classic films. And then going back and watching it for the first time a couple weeks ago, I just didn't really love it. I think there's some things that are good, but it wasn't that amazing. And then kind of the same thing with Twisters, the new remake. I think it's okay, but there's elements that are kind of missing, I think, that to making it like more of that, like, I guess, I mean, it is probably, I mean, it's already considered a classic, but from being like a classic and one of like the greatest films, like an amazing film, I don't think it quite reaches those heights. And then after I watched Twisters, I wanted to go back and rewatch Minari, which is Lee Isaac Chung, the director, his debut film. It's one of those that, because part of me is, I saw this, I think maybe it was Matt Neglia. I don't know for sure who it was, but I saw someone I follow on Letterboxd. They had their review for Twisters was kind of like that they can't believe, because it didn't feel like Lee Isaac Chung was the director, because you watch Minari and it is so full of like character and love and development, like everything is like, you can tell that there's directorial presence here that just isn't really felt in Twisters. So I feel like it's one of those things where I think maybe there was a lot of studio interference with Twisters, or Spielberg, obviously there's the story of him kind of cutting the kiss at the end of the movie. So I think that there was a lot of maybe creative decision making that Lee Isaac Chung didn't get to make, that he got to make with Minari. So I wanted to go back and rewatch that to just remind myself how good of a filmmaker Lee Isaac Chung is. And yeah, Minari is a 4.5. And then we have Suburbia. We are going to put this at a 3. It's another, I believe it's adapted off of a stage play, I believe, and you can feel it at times. There's a lot of the dialogue or the scenes, the way that's set up, very minimal locations. And so I think that type of film can appeal to people more so than me. I do think that this is maybe one that maybe on a second watch I'll be able to appreciate some of the smaller things a little bit more, but for the first watch it was kind of hard, getting into some of the characters and getting into the story as a whole. So I'm just going to go with a 3 there for Suburbia. Then we have the original Deadpool that we are throwing up at a 4.5, and then Deadpool 2 at a 4, and Deadpool and Wolverine also at a 4. We're going to put them all pretty much lumped up together there at the top. These are all amazing films. I love just the Deadpool trilogy, if you will. I mean, it's one of the better comic book trilogies. And I think so much of why it's such a good trilogy is because, and why it works for me, is because Deadpool, the character in and of itself, is just kind of this joke, the merc with a mouth. He's supposed to just be rattling off jokes all movie. But there's a surprising amount of heart, I think, in all of the Deadpool movies. And so I think that's what makes me really just love them. Is I think, and I guess for some people, if you just are tired of the Ryan Reynolds shtick, then it's easy to just brush them off. But for me, I'm not tired of it, and so once you get that the comedy of Deadpool, just the script plus all of the emotional moments in those films, like especially Deadpool 2, I think a lot of people, I think Deadpool 2 is kind of consensus like the least favorite of the Deadpool movies, but for me, like that's the one with the most heart, and so I again just love the whole trilogy. And then we have Thelma, that I watched for my halfway Oscars video that just came out a couple days ago. So we're going to put Thelma up at a 4. Then we had Apollo 10 and a half, a Space Age Childhood. We're going to put that at a 3.5. I will say that I enjoyed this a whole lot more on this watch as opposed to the first time I saw this years ago. Because the first time I saw this was only the second Richard Linklater film that I'd seen. Um, and so it kind of I wasn't fully in love with Richard Linklater as a filmmaker, or just the stories he's telling, or why I cared about this kind of fictionalized story of his childhood. But on this watch, because I've seen more Richard Linklater films now, it really did just kind of it hit a it I don't want to say it hit harder, but it made more of an impact, and I enjoyed it a whole lot more. Not necessarily a whole lot more that I'm gonna like change the score. I'm leaving it at a 3.5, which is what I had it before. But I will say that I did like it, the whole experience, a whole lot more this time. And then the last film is Problemista, also going up at a 4. That's another one that I watched for my halfway Oscars video, so I'll put a link for that video in the description as well. And then let's zoom in here. All right, and now we are nice and zoomed in here, so let's rank the movies inside the tiers. Down here, I think I like Dark Phoenix more than Apocalypse. I think, but I mean, it's an ugly toss up down there between all of those. I think that's how I'm gonna leave it. And then we've got X Men Origins Wolverine there at 2.5. The threes is gonna be the toughest one to rank today. Hmm. Let's go Kinds of Kindness probably up at the front. Maybe Last Flag Flying. X Men Origins Wolverine, or the Wolverine. Maxine probably up here. Maybe if the Tiermaker website will let me move it. Maxine, and then Bernie, Scanner Darkly, Twister, Suburbia. Where do I want to put? Probably move Twister to like there. So that's probably what I go. Kinds of Kindness, Last Flag Flying, the Wolverine, Maxine, Bernie, Twister, Scanner Darkly, and Suburbia. And then at 3.5, let's go with. Let's go. Let's go Days of Future Past. I like Pearl more than I like X, so we're gonna go Pearl, X, Twister, Apollo 10 and a half, Slacker is probably the ranking. And then for the 4 stars, we'll probably end up putting First Class probably down at the bottom. Because, like I was saying, it's really close between First Class and Days of Future Past. I think I like Problemista more than Thelma. I think I like them both more than Deadpool and Wolverine. But I like Deadpool 2 more. Longlegs. I'd probably go like that. The Lobster, Deadpool 2, Longlegs, Problemista, Thelma, Deadpool and Wolverine, and then X Men for First Class. And then the 4.5s, I think I'd go that. I think I'd go Minari, Silence of the Lambs, Deadpool, and then Logan at the 5 star. So here's the first 29. So if you don't want either of the spoilers for Deadpool and Wolverine, we're gonna get to those last 2 films now. So if you don't want any spoilers, thank you for watching. Have a great day. For those that want those 2 spoilers, give it a couple seconds, then we'll jump into those 2. Okay, and we've brought the 2 spoiler films back up. The first one that I watched the first day of the month was Daredevil. And we're gonna go with the 2 star for Daredevil, and I think I like Daredevil more than all of these X Men movies. Um, And then it was Electra was the other one I watched. That's going to be the lowest. That's going to be a 1.5. Um, so, and we're just going to leave them like that. So that's how those two rank in. The reason that I'm marking them as spoilers, and I mean the reason I watched them, period, leading up to, obviously you can see with all the X-Men movies I was watching, everything was leading up to Deadpool and Wolverine. I remember hearing forever ago, like it was maybe over a year ago, that I thought it was like a confirmed thing that Jennifer Garner was gonna be in Deadpool and Wolverine. Like she was reprising her role as Elektra, and then I remember it was kind of like the same time that that was confirmed, that it was confirmed that Ben Affleck was close to returning, but I never saw like an official, return thing. But I just in my head I was like, it's confirmed that Jennifer Garner's in this, like Elektra's gonna be in this, and so that's why I watched them super early. Deadpool obviously just, sorry, Daredevil. Did I say Deadpool multiple times probably when I was just talking about Daredevil? So Daredevil I watched just so I could get to know who Elektra was because I knew that Jennifer Garner was in Daredevil as well. So yeah, I mean that's why I watched them forever because I thought it was like a confirmed, like we knew this, that we knew that they were in, and I guess maybe if you were on the internet you did, but obviously they didn't put them in any of the marketing, and then they treat their appearance in the film as, you know, not really cameos, like the unannounced characters, but they still. They treated them as kind of this big reveal, so I just didn't want to spoil anything here for you, just in case you hadn't seen the film yet. Although, to be fair, I mean, you've got Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds themselves are posting tweets, with like people recording the videos, like in or recording the movie in the theater. Um, all of the characters, all the cameos, all the actors, they've come out and have are openly talking about it. So I mean, clearly they don't care about not spoiling this film. It was within like a day or two of this movie coming out that it was not safe to go on the internet. Everything was spoiled. So hopefully you didn't get spoiled like I did. I actually got spoiled, but hopefully if you were excited for the movie, you didn't get spoiled, and hopefully prevented one or two people maybe from getting spoiled there for the Elektra cameo if you cared about that kind of thing. So all right, there it is. That is my July ranking. Let me know down below in the comments below what where do we where are we different on our rankings? Is there a film that I have way high that you just hate, and are we crazy different on any of these? Or just let me know if there's any films here that you've just either hadn't heard of, or if these are films that you have seen, kind of what your ratings of them are, and just would love to get a chance to see what you think of these films, and also just let me know what films you watched this month, and again, if there's any cool suggestions, if you've seen something that you really loved, maybe I'll add it to my list for my Becoming a Better Cinephile series that I'm doing as well. But again, thank you so much for watching this video, and have a great day.